to call this meeting to order. The Arizona Commission on the Arts. This is our last meeting of this wonderful year. And it is so wonderful to be here. Oh,
Sorry.
the whole thing. Steve, gotta start over. Anyway, call this meeting to order. Welcome everyone to the last the Arizona Commission on the Arts.
I apologize.
Here. And it's so
delayed.
Oh, sorry.
Theater, give me just theater.
Required you,
That's fire. Theater.
That's why it's, sorry, what?
Can I go next? Okay, great. So, welcome everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the last meeting of 2025 for the Arizona Commission on the Arts. I'm so delighted to have it be done in person and to have so many commissioners here in person. We do have 4 folks online. Including a new commissioner. So we'll get to introductions in a minute. I want to start by reminding all of you all that we are subject to open meeting law. The staff have done a really wonderful job on page 3 of our packet in outlining our the parameters that we need to maintain during the public meeting, and we do have members of the public here, so I'm excited about that as well. And before we get to introduction, I would very much like to acknowledge our host in this extraordinary place. I'd like to introduce Kira Archer-Bukowski, and she's the Director of Operations for the Irish Cultural Center and the McClelland Library. And thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. I'm Kira. We're so thrilled to have you, and thank you all for everything you do for arts and culture in our beautiful state of Arizona. We obviously try to live that mission every single day. We do over 100 events a year. We are celebrating our 26th year. We just had our 25th anniversary last year. Thank you. And we are excited to continue to partner with organizations like yours and hopefully grow and be bigger stewards and champions for arts in the state. So hopefully please come back. We have lots of events and lots of fun. So thank you, and thank you for our team.
Thank you.
Well, y'all don't get a chance to after the meeting. Hopefully we'll finish a little early and we can walk around and check out this little castle that we're in. So we're going to move on. First, I would like to acknowledge Miss Monica Buckle. I see you on the Zoom.
Hi, Chairwoman Dawn.
What did you say, Darling? What did you say?
Sorry, the audio on my end is a bit on the fritz, but now I can see you and hear you.
Wonderful. Well, I wanted to acknowledge you. She has been appointed as our vice chair for the commission.
Thank you. It's a privilege. Thank you. It really is. I look forward to working with Christina, you, Dawn, Jose, all the commission staff, and of course, fellow commissioners. It's a real honor. Thank you.
Wonderful. Next time we'll see you in person, Monica.
Yes, absolutely. You know, it's peak season here at the museum, which is good. We have donors coming in and out with checks for year-end giving. So I'm right in my office today.
Good decision. Good decision. Well, I'm also really excited to let everyone know that we have 3 of our existing board members who are reappointed by the governor. I'm going to start with the handsome man in the awesome hat, Simon. Then I will go over to the very fashionable, very chic Peter. If I must, I will the awesome Mr. Art Hardy.
There's a mistake, let it go.
No, you're in. Anyway, and then finally, I don't think we really had a chance to do this, but, we did have two commissioners that, their terms expired and they're no longer with us, but they made such incredible contributions. And that is Pam Paul and Chelsea Lett. And the team have put together some cards for us to sign as a thank you for their service. So by the end of the meeting, we'll pass this around. We could all just write a few words to them and thank them, and then the team will make sure that they get out to Pam and Chelsea. So we'll just give them a round of applause. Right, and this is a fun meeting because we get to talk about all of us who are staying and then 3 new people who are actually joining us for the first time. And I would like to first start with Mayor Daggett. Are you on? Yes, there you go. Is she on?
I am.
Hi, Mayor. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Good. Well, Mayor Daggett is a lifelong Arizonan, an advocate for affordable housing, forest health, climate action, the arts, and education. And I know there's like 150 more things that you're passionate about. She's the mayor of Flagstaff. And she's previously held executive roles in Flagstaff nonprofits, and she participates in numerous statewide and national leadership organizations. And I'm gonna get this in your bio one of these days, but she is also a Flynn Brown Fellow. Anything you want to share with us here at all?
I would just like to thank the governor for being appointed and thank you all for welcoming me in. As I shared during my orientation, I've served as a grant reviewer before for the commission and loved it. And one of the reasons I loved it was because I got to learn about all of the organizations in other parts of the state that I don't know as well. So that is also why I am excited to serve on this commission and to lift up the work of arts and culture organizations throughout the state.
Well, welcome, and we look forward to seeing you at our next meeting in person. I know that some important mayoral things pulled you away from us today, but we'll see you in March, I hope. Wonderful. All right, our next new commissioner is Mark Schauer from Yuma. Is he on?
Yep.
There he is. Hello. How are you? Mark is a writer, a cultural historian, and a public affairs professional whose work explores how art, memory, and place shape community identity. And for 15 years, he has taught English and writing at the community college level. He is deeply engaged in rural and borderlands cultural vitality and has served on the Southwest Arizona Town Hall Committee and the Yuma County Library District Board. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited. To be part of the group. I apologize that I couldn't be there in person. I got word of my appointment while I was traveling for the holiday, but I'm really looking forward to seeing everybody in person in March and participating in this wonderful organization. I'm very proud of the arts community here in Yuma and in the state as a whole.
Well, we're lucky to have you as part of the commission. Welcome. Okay, one more clap. We're going to wait for our third commissioner, who will be here shortly, to do introductions, but maybe we can go on with the agenda. Okay, great. Actually, I'm so sorry. I'd like to make one other introduction if I can. Seated 2 persons to my right is Ian O'Grady, the Senior Policy Advisor for Governor Katie Hobbs, and he is essentially our liaison to the executive branch. He advocates for us, he gets us new commissioners, and his portfolio, and I'd like you to share a little bit more about your portfolio, but it encompasses economic development, which I love that arts and economic development are together. So can you maybe say a few words, Ian?
Absolutely, thank you, Chair Wallace. As Chair said, my name is Ian O'Grady. I'm Policy Advisor in Governor Hobbs' office. My portfolio encompasses economic development and workforce and a few other areas. But I think one thing, the governor's really prioritized the arts since coming in 2023. As our state grows and our state changes, we're in downtown Phoenix, you can see a lot of change around us that we don't lose the Arizona identity and how we're recording that. And I'll mention the Poet Laureate as an example, but just that the arts are so important in maintaining that identity, telling our story, attracting more people to understand, what is here in Arizona. We think there's been so much growth and so much progress. And then just a few things about, so I have arts within my portfolio. I think probably one of the first policy advisors in a while that has had arts as a responsibility, as just someone to call in the governor's office when arts issues come up, or when the governor has a priority she wants to help move forward. One of which actually since the beginning has been to appoint commissioners from across the state representing different parts of the arts community. And so we're very excited to have the new commissioners help push that through, make sure we get the paperwork done by this meeting. So we could have a full roster for this meeting. I know what you have is the roster as of a week ago is now out of date. But we wanted to push that through. A couple of other things just I think that matter in terms of what the governor's done. One is we have a new executive director. Yeah, I still call you new, but it's been a year and a half. But when Executive Director Park was appointed, and also thank you for your participation in that selection. That was a huge process and huge undertaking. We feel very good about the result. Governor Hobbs sat down with Executive Director Park to talk about priorities, talk about the arts. And so I think that just keeps that conversation going. We wanted to have that smooth transition. On top of, moving forward with the Poet Laureate, we'll have an announcement very soon on that position. So we're very excited about that, to have our second Poet Laureate in the state's history and kind of get that program up and running again. Also, is part of prioritizing the arts and engaging more with the Arts Commission, Executive Director Park also participates in our cabinet meetings, which I think is really, really important in terms of knowing what's going on in the legislature, rubbing elbows with like the director of ADOT and these other big agencies that are really institutionalized, but that's kind of, we want the arts to be in that conversation too. And then just other initiatives that are ongoing on arts and health and other things that have been a priority for the commission and then you all and the staff, and just making sure that we're helping you all implement and engage. I think one thing I want to mention too that I know is a top priority for y'all is ongoing funding. We are in budget development now. I know, Christine and I sat down with Budget Director Ben Henderson, who's I think one of the best budget minds and negotiators in the state. And arts is a priority for us, and so that executive budget will be out in early January. For those who aren't, in the capital rigmarole, early January, Governor's State of the State is around the same time, and so that will be coming out. That you'll see our proposal. I think one thing that I wanted to kind of impart to you all as commissioners is what happens regardless of the governor's executive budget is then we go into what, it's kind of an awful name, we call it the cage, but we go into the negotiation room. And I know the chair is very well familiar. And basically what we're looking for on those executive priorities are then dance partners. And so we need the Senate President and the Speaker of the House to also say, okay, that priority you put in the budget, we want it to. If it doesn't meet that, usually it goes in the waste paper basket. We don't have that traction. And so the last couple of years, unfortunately, even though it's been a priority for the governor, we haven't had those dance partners. And what's happened with the funding coming back in is actually through the process of losing votes on the budget as you move towards enactment, we then have folks in the minority who then say, I will bring a vote if there's arts funding involved. And so I think that's been a project for us, is to make sure that we have, the governor says the word bipartisan a lot, and that's just the reality of the Capitol and how we need to implement things, and that's what gets in the budget. And so that's a big focus for us is, in emphasizing bipartisan support for the arts. And so, I'm hopeful that we'll get it this year. It's that Venn diagram of folks who, are on the right, but also believe in public funding for the arts. And so that's something we're working on. So any help you have, any engagement, I think everything you're doing overall is super helpful in terms of the importance of the arts, and the, relaunching the State Poet Laureate will be a huge part of that. But that's kind of the extent of what I wanted to say. Just, if there's any questions or discussion or things you want to know about, I'll wrap.
Just to say, Ian, you and your staff have been so awesome, your boards and commissions group. We know how tough it is to appoint these seats. The fact that we have, I think, a full commission. Right? Yeah, I mean, that's awesome.
Very
That's
exciting.
really huge. So just want to say thank you to the 8th and 9th floor folks, and good job, guys. So appreciate it.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah,
Yes,
we really
absolutely.
do appreciate the governor prioritizing, all of state government really, but, you know, since we're sitting here and this is our passion, a very special thank you for a full commission, and a full commission that represents Arizona, right? I mean, as I look around this room and on our Zoom, what a 2025 thing to say. When the virtual world is in your four walls here. But we have every nook and cranny of the state represented, and it's just delightful. Thank you so much.
Yes,
And
thank you.
I think I can say, if you could collectively share our appreciation with the governor, that would be wonderful. Are there any other questions? We got them. Well, you can get them later. All right, thank you, Ian. So I jumped in agenda just because I wanted to give Ian some time before we started to do all of our technical stuff. But our first thing, going to agenda item A, we do need to approve our previous meeting minutes. I want to remind you all that the team on page 3 has given us example verbiage for motions. That's important for our new members and folks on, if you do need that reminder. But if I could please get a motion. Are there any discussion around the minutes, I should ask first? Hearing none, could I get a motion to approve the minutes, please?
This is Commissioner Tiffany. I would like to make a motion to approve the previous minutes of
I think it's September meeting or September
the
meeting?
previous minutes of the September meeting.
Very good. May I get a second, please?
Commissioner Ortega Leonardi.
All right, very good. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The motion passes. Thank you very, very much. Okay, moving on to agenda A3, Executive Director Park.
Before I start, I just want to thank you all so much for coming here, being with us. I reflect that 3 hours is a lot. So for you all to drive in from across the state, to participate virtually, I know the north is getting a little bit of interesting weather right now. And also, at the end of the day, sincere gratitude to our staff. This incredible setup that you see here, incredible work that I'm about to talk about, to inform you about of the last few months, can only be done by the staff here at the commission. And so before I start with my executive director report, I would really like to give just a round of applause to my staff. And on the Zoom. Okay, let's see if this thing.
Is it on?
Yeah, I just turned it on.
Plugged in.
No.
Okay, you're
I'm
all,
just gonna say next slide.
yeah.
Again, this is what powers us. We are primarily a grant maker. This is a slide that I shared in our September meeting, but just a reminder of the incredible impact of this agency in providing around 600 grants every year to the residents here in Arizona across all of the different counties. Next slide. An update since our last commission meeting is that AOG Cycle B, so this is for individual artists. It's on 2 different cycles every year. Cycle B is currently in progress. We currently have a staff member that is running a grant panel right now. We had a record amount of applications submitted this year. And as a result, we are having 6 panels over the next 2 weeks. Also an update is our sort of our collaboration with the Arizona State Parks and Trails with our park residency down at Patagonia State Park, which, I mean, look at that, right? Who could not be inspired in that kind of place? So we had 2 artists that were residents. We had Corey Woodall from Flagstaff, and then Fernando Serrano from Bisbee. And both of them finished their residencies most recently. We look really forward to sharing the artwork that they created. I know that Commissioner Velke, I don't know if there's additional words you want to say about their work, or...
I'm just excited. I know Fernando and the work that came out of that was incredible, what I've seen so far, both in his studio and what he sent me digitally, and just how much of an impact that was for him. And so I'm just really excited that there's a time and place for him to be able to explore his work further.
Where will his work be displayed?
So that will be up to the individual artist, but we'll be happy. I think currently some of his work is on his website,
Okay.
and we're happy to share that after having a conversation with the artist and just getting permission.
Perfect.
Next slide. Also, something I want to highlight is that this last fall, there was a release of the NEA National Heritage Fellows. This is an incredible, prestigious award that's given out to only a select few amount of artists across the nation. I'm happy to report that Carmen Barron from Tucson was one of the few that was selected. And we have a deep sort of tie to that because she was part of our 2016 Master Apprentice awardee that is facilitated by our partner Southwest Folklife Alliance. Next slide. And this is something that I want to bring up again and again about these types of partnership grants with different nonprofits and these programs that are meant about the transition of knowledge from generation to generation. And so these are parts where being part of these programs like the Master Apprentice then allows artists to then leverage that to continue to grow their work and be seen not only on a local, a state, a regional, but also a national stage. I also want to give an update about Poetry Out Loud. So this is our other partnership grant. This is facilitated by the University of Arizona Poetry Center. There has been some slight changes with the program this last year, with a slightly truncated timeline, and then there was some change in partnerships with the Poetry Foundation, which was the joint partner in providing a lot of the poems and access to those licenses. Due to that, there was some changes in the program. You can see over on the right what is new and what remains the same. This is something you might hear about from your communities. Poetry Center and their staff have been incredible about shifting and adjusting with a different timeline. And so over to the left, you can see about the communication that's been given out to communities and schools that are participating about 3 different ways to approach the new anthology, whether it is something that they want to do where they use the old anthology because of the truncated timeline and the smaller list of poems that are available, or if they want to do a combination approach, or if they want to lean into the new anthology. I also want to highlight, and this will probably come up in Steve's report as well, is that we had the launch of our Arizona Neuro Arts Community Coalition. The main driver of that and partner is the Flynn Foundation, is the lead for that initiative. And so this is what you can see. There is a whole website on the Flynn Foundation website. It talks about the incredible work, why it's important, and Don, you feel like Chair Lassie has something to say?
I don't. I was just going to say I don't know what it is because it's not my program area. But the word neuro and the word arts is very, you can define what it is. All I know is that my president and CEO is giddy over this project because our main work is really around bioscience, medical research, medical innovation. We fund tens of millions of dollars to pair that work with the arts and to make a statement that the arts can heal is an incredibly powerful statement. And so I'm very, very happy that we can invest in this and that the commission can be a partner. So thank you.
Next slide. And that was a buildup of a multi-year effort that started even before me. This is just a brief recap as well as an image onto the right about one of the most recent convenings around art. It's
throwing itself
Arts
at
Commission
us.
How could you say that? For the folks on Zoom, we had a picture fall from the wall. But what you see on screen here is just the different things that have occurred just this year around arts and health. And this builds on the decade-long legacy of creative aging, of youth well-being, of the programs that this commission has invested in over the last decade. Things that I want to update is that we have submitted a $77,000 grant request to our National Assembly of State Agencies, which is funded by E.A. Mickelson Philanthropy. And similar to the Flynn Foundation, we are very excited about this work, about the research that is coming up locally and nationally about the impact of arts and health in clinical trials, in real life, in the testimonies of the artists and the communities here in Arizona. Next slide. I also wanted to update about, we had applied for and received a $25,000 grant from the National Endowment for the Arts around specifically America 250. And so with those funds, the timing was perfectly aligned with our strategic planning community listening sessions, where as we were going out to rural communities, going to rural libraries, there was a significant sense of loss about the program Arizona Speaks, which is run by the Arizona Humanities, and expressed about the amount of contribution that program gives to those communities, and then in conversations with Arizona Humanities about the deep alignment about arts and humanities. Maybe also because we have a former public ally that now works there too as well. But in that, we decided to partner, similar to the other programs I mentioned before, with Arizona Humanities to contribute to the relaunch of the Arizona Speaks program, specifically around artists and highlighting artists and the history and impact of Arizona. Next slide. Also, just a reminder that this is the approved state budget request that is being that was submitted to the OSPB office about what it would mean for this commission, for the arts and culture community, to have an ongoing line item, to have that grant support, as well as invest in arts and health, as I just mentioned, and tribal cultural investment, recognizing that supporting organizations and individuals is very much top of mind for us. Next slide. I'd also like to highlight the fall, as everyone knows, is the ramp up of arts and culture here in Arizona in the southern half, and the transition in the north. So this is all the different events that our incredible staff went to, attended, participated in the last 3 months since our last commission meeting. Next slide. And the multiple presentations to share about the work of arts and culture. We had Brad Device and Hannah Spencer, who have been doing community discussions with organizations about just making sure that as we make adjustments to our creative grant application to make it a little bit smoother, to respond to feedback we received, that is something that we get feedback from the community. Also, we have our director, Jose Herrera, and Anna Needham, that then presented at the Tribal Energy and Economic Futures Summit, which Ian was able to see. I don't know if you have any additional words.
Anna did a great job in terms of, the first day was focused on energy sovereignty, the second day was focused on workforce and economic development for tribal nations, and it was great to have the arts plug in there. It was great, yeah, so thank you. Thank you.
Delia Ibanez co-presented a panel about the sort of arts and environment work at Grantmakers in the Arts. Anna presented our annual tribal consultation report to the Governor's Office on Tribal Relations. And then Delia worked with Cal Alliance, which is a local nonprofit, about providing programming and guidance around budget and grant writing for individual artists. Next slide. And then also, I'm not going to talk through everything, but I do definitely want to highlight the incredible work that our staff do and then professional development that they are pursuing in order to bolster this work. And things I want to highlight is that Delia and Brad got a Creative West Professional Development Support Fund grants for some professional development. Stacy and Hannah completed, and there was a whole ceremony, the ADOT Leads, Aspire to Lead program. And then also that Anastasia and Brad participated in the SOUT program, which is the State of Arizona Leaders Connect program.
Nice.
Next slide. This is my last slide, but what I do want to say is that there are 2 adjustments to take note of over the next few months into the spring. One is that we've been convening the strategic plan working group, and as a part of that, we would like to have a special full commission meeting in late January in order to update you all about the current progress of that strategic plan, especially before it goes out for public review. And the second is that March is always that time when there are spring breaks, and so because of that time conflict, we're going to push back the meeting to March 26th. And also, it is going to be in person in Verde Valley. So, Monica, I don't know if there's anything you want to say there.
No, it's going to be really wonderful, Christina, and everyone here is absolutely delighted to host the commission. And we're going to have a new exhibit installed that's going to be opening early March of this coming year. So that's going to be a treat for everyone. So I'm just looking forward to welcoming everyone to the space. And of course, the museum is going to do a reception after the meeting. So that way we can tour the galleries and just have a nice time together.
Thank you, Commissioner Buckle. Back to you, Chair.
All right, well, thank you so much. I'd like to give the staff a round of applause for all of the wonderful things that they've done since our last meeting, but in general, if we could. I think that we highlight these sort of big milestones, but I know that every day, like, there are things that you all do that collectively create the quality and excellence of this agency, and we're really proud to be representatives of it, so thank you all. I wanted to now go to Steve with the media report, please.
Thank you, yes. There is a media report as ever in your board packet. We had some nice pickup in this order. Some things that I would like to call special attention to. Navajo Hopi Observer covering their local representative on our Youth Arts Council. As well, we got some pickup on the local artist resident from Bisbee and their local paper. Always happy to see these communities celebrating their arts leaders as they are engaged in our work. So if you have any questions on that, I welcome them. Great. And Commissioner Wallace, can I go right into my next presentation?
Right into the ledge report.
Yeah, you're going to get an extra dose of Steve today. Yeah, aren't we excited? Yeah. So I wanted to report out on the legislative outreach that we've been engaged in. Specifically, Jose and I have been working to meet with legislators in advance of the next legislative session beginning in January. Our objectives in this outreach are to educate priority legislators specifically on the work and impact of the Arizona Commission on the Arts and the role that the legislature plays in ensuring its funding. Again, we as a state agency are restricted in the amount of self-advocacy that we can do and the lobbying that we can do on behalf of the agency. We are primarily there to educate these legislators. Make sure that they are aware that they have a role to play in how the arts are funded in our state. And also asking asking for a commitment to be a champion of the arts during their legislative session. This idea of priority legislators, we are not attempting to meet with everyone, with all 90. So we have gone through and selected legislators from key districts or in positions of influence, such as House Speaker, Minority Leader, that sort of thing. Also, legislators where we feel like there might be particular potential to be a champion for the arts. Just to give you an example of what we're looking at now, not everyone that we have on our list has taken a meeting with us, but I'm going to be able to do this. You know what? Maybe, hang with me. All right. Don't need that. We were working from some files on these legislators that we've assembled, giving us some information about their policy priorities, their bio, setting up meetings to track who has been seen and who has been spoken with, as well other information, including the organizations that are in their district. So this has been a help in coordinating this effort. I will go back now to this. And so the meetings that we have been able to schedule, back in November, we met with Senator Lauren Kuby and Representative Brian Garcia from LD8. They've already shown themselves to be supporters of the arts, so we want to reconnect there and make sure that they are secure. We met with Senator Angus up in LD30. I believe she is located in Keeneman herself. We saw some potential there. She has a background in the arts, a degree in an arts practice, and also owned an arts boutique for a while. So a Republican senator up there, but we see some real opportunity there. So it was a pleasure to introduce ourselves and help her understand her role in funding the arts. Senator Priya Sundaresan, I'm looking to Ian because, yes, Sundaresan, the minority leader in the Senate and a great supporter there in Tucson, as well. Representative Mariana Sandoval covers a big swath of the state, with the majority of the population being in Yuma. We met with Representative Lorena Austin from LD9, had a great conversation there. Huge supporter of the arts in a district. This is downtown Mesa. As Simon knows, this is a real hotbed for arts activity. Coming up next week, tomorrow actually, we will be meeting with Representative Connolly from LD8, and then on December 10th with Representative Bliss, who really emerged in the last 2 years as an incredible champion for us from her legislative district, primarily focused around the Verde Valley region, Prescott and all of that. So these have been very good so far. I shared some of the materials that we're sharing with them in the board packet. Again, if you have any questions, I welcome them.
Steve, yeah,
Yes.
Commissioner Tiffany here. For the benefit of our new commissioners here joining us today, what is the role and our relationship with the Arizona Citizens for the Arts?
Yes, thank you for that. I'm sorry, computer just crashed, but, okay, there, good, we're back. A little bit, okay. Yes, so the Arizona Citizens for the Arts is a private 501c3 nonprofit organization that coordinates advocacy for the arts broadly throughout the state, with a specific goal to ensure continued and growing funding for the Arizona Commission on the Arts. Our level of coordination with them, we are in ongoing communication with them. We can't really direct their activity. They are an independent body and they set their own priorities and their own agendas. But we have had a long relationship with this organization and a generally positive relationship. We are continuing to communicate with them about the legislators that we're meeting with and what we are requesting of the governor's office as far as funding for the arts. And then they are developing their own strategies for the upcoming legislative session. We hope to have some information from them to share with you in the coming weeks as that legislative session begins in mid-January.
One other question, does this organization receive any funding from the state through the commission?
They do not.
Okay.
Yes. And Ethan, did you have a
I was
comment?
gonna add something else on some specific legislators. But just I think one thing that has happened in the last 2 years where funding has come out from the negotiation and come back in is having legislators that say, I will not vote for the budget unless arts funding is in there. Those are the magic words, because then you get votes onto the budget, and that's how you ensure that arts funding is in. I think some legislators are very good at making sure stakeholders think that they got something into the budget that when they're actually in the room, they may not have been going to bat for it. But those are I think if any engagement, just we want to, those are the words that are helpful.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Anything else? Any other questions?
Well, thank
Thank
you,
you.
Steve. Appreciate that. And if you haven't looked, and I'm sure you have, there are some wonderful examples of the documents that are produced specifically for the legislator that they are meeting with, that gives them a sense of the investments that are made in the arts in their district. That's a big effort, and I appreciate Steve, you putting that together. I think it's a great selling point. Do you mind if I?
Just one thing, can I add?
Yes, please.
And if you're interested in any of these documents about education, about what's in their district, all of that is on the Google Resource Drive for commissioners. What's there is one-page sort of breakdowns of the grants in each legislative district that Steve has put together. There's also advocacy tools about the larger impact of the commission on this, for the state of Arizona. There's also a couple of resources from the National Assembly of State Agencies that talks about, gives sort of different talking points about the impact of arts at large in the nation. And also at the request of the commission last year, there is an additional document that really dives deeper into this concept of advocacy versus lobbying and where your role is as a commissioner, so that you feel empowered to have these conversations. So thank you, Chair Wallace.
Okay. Are there any questions for Christina?
Can you resend the link to the drive? I'm sure I
Absolutely.
have it somewhere, but thank you.
Make sure you send it to the secretary.
I knew you were going to say that. I'll send it to nowhere.
Oh, so happy you are. All right, well, before we get to your section, I'd like to introduce our last new member of the commission, SNO2. And I see the resemblance now so intensely. You mentioned that you were cousins. I think
He's like, who is this guy?
it's so obvious. I've known both you guys for a while, never made the connection. So Essence currently serves as the Senior Manager of People and Culture at the Salt River Project, leading efforts to strengthen organizational culture and employee experience. A Valley Leadership graduate and 40 Under 40 honoree, he also serves on many community boards and is an arts advocate and is married to my favorite O2, Miss Allison. Welcome to the commission.
Thank you so much.
Want to tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. Honored to be here. Sorry to join you all late, coming from another event and commitment, but by day, work for SRP, but I'm really involved in philanthropy. I've been serving on the Arizona Community Foundation board for the last 6 years or so. But I'm a huge lover and advocate of the arts. My two youngest daughters go to school up the street at Arizona School for the Arts, and I'm a proponent of arts access and exposure. I grew up in West Phoenix, just here in town, and access and equity around arts is always something that, and more broadly, is always something I've been passionate about. So looking forward to learning and contributing to the commission, and just excited to be here. So look forward to meeting all of you as well.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Well, very good. Okay, great. So we're moving on to agenda D, the fiscal reports and planning. Kim, you have a informational report for us for this fiscal year.
Yes, thank you, Chair Wallace. For our fiscal report, I'm happy to say there's not anything unusual or scary or frightening, which is always a good way to start a fiscal report. A couple of things I just wanted to point out at the beginning here for our new commissioners as well. In our revenue section, I'm on page 24 if you're following in your booklet. On the MEA grant and the Arts Trust Fund, right, the first two lines there, both of those are drawn monthly, and the numbers you see reflected here for the NEA grant reflect numbers drawn through November, and then the Arts Trust Fund is through October. That tends to come later in the month for us, and so we, in fact, just have received the November draw as well for that. The state appropriation comes to us quarterly. We draw that quarterly, and this number, of course, reflects 2 quarters that we have drawn. The interest from the Arizona Community Foundation Private Art Share and the Bill Desmond Fund interest, both of those, we draw those in May, so those will remain as zeros for until the end of our fiscal year. And then the local account is a fund that we use for private grants that we receive if we do a workshop and accept money, for people to attend the workshop and so on. And we already have exceeded the numbers we had budgeted. We only budget there what we know for certain is coming. And so shortly after the budget was enacted, we received word that we had been, in fact, received new private grants, and so that's reflected there as well. The next thing I just wanted to point out under expenditures, in the third box down under legislative statutory transfers, the only remaining item to pay there is the very bottom one. It's the $7,100 for the Human Resources Information System modernization fee. That's a long name. That's to help pay for an update that they did to the Human Resources database statewide system. That has been lingering for some number of years as they've anticipated launching it. We did have the first section finally launched. The next one's coming up, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen this year. We most likely will pay that next year, so we'll keep you posted on that. The next thing I just wanted to point out was on page 25, under our grants, programs, and services. I just want to remind you all that the majority of our grants and programs will pay out in the 3rd and 4th quarters. That's, of course, so that we can get everything processed and ready to go. Everybody can get their paperwork in and that sort of thing. So money will be flying out the door starting in January. And that is all I have for the budget report. Are there any questions? Thank you, Chair Wallace.
Okay, very good. All right, moving on to agenda item C1. Hannah, can you tell us about grants?
I would love to. Thank you, Chair Wallace. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm going to wait and get our fancy slide up for you. I'm going to vamp a little, give Steve some time.
Thank you.
I don't know. I don't know where the accent came in, but it sounded entertaining. So, Thank you so much, Steve. So as promised in our previous meeting, this is our new ongoing agenda item from the grants team. And this is an informational, educational component just to show the flow of funds that we operate with throughout the year through our grants specifically. So this slide indicates our Q2 grant payment processing as of yesterday. And this slide indicates the individual grant programs. You can see those separated out by project grants, the top few rows, and then the creative capacity grant there towards the end, which is our general operating support. It indicates how much money was awarded by the board in August, how many dollars have gone to grantees in the the second quarter, through the second quarter, and the percentage of grantee payments that have been processed as a whole. Please note that this figure still is only for our Artist Opportunity Grant Cycle A, as Cycle B is in panels right this minute. And as Kim mentioned, most of our movement we'll start to see in quarters 3 and 4, so you can anticipate those numbers will continue to rise. At this time, grant payment processing is happening from Stacy and Kim's desk, while my fellow grant managers and I are preparing internally for our next cycle for fiscal year 27 to open up in early March. So we are working with our director of, and we are also working with our director of data and evaluations, Anastasia, to wrap up our final reports from fiscal year 2025. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Otherwise, I will hand it back to Chair Wallace.
Are there any questions?
Just quick, is the Opportunity Grant the only grant that's multi-cycle, or do we have other ones that we do that with? I forget.
AOG is our current multi-cycle. Only one, yeah.
We used the Creative Youth Grant, not the Creative Youth Grant. Jess is gonna be we did used to do multi-cycle for a few other grants, but due to budget restrictions, it was decided about 2 years ago.
Okay, I thought it was something like that. Thank you.
I actually have a question that overlaps Hannah and Kim. So we did award these grants earlier. How do you technically account for them in the state's accounting system? Are they encumbered? Okay,
Yes,
so
we do.
it is very clearly obligated money, and it is known to the accountants and to the budgeteers that these are obligations that we've already made contractually.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, very good, because, I think that any of you who've worked in government know that there's money sitting on the table and, people need it. I just want the new members, and also just a refresher for all of us to know that just because they're not distributed doesn't mean that they're not, technically set aside, because organizations have made operational decisions based on these awards, and I think it gets very concerning if they, if for some reason we can't meet our obligations. So we do have a mechanism for that.
Yes.
Very good. Okay. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Public ally, can I get a literacy check on, there was a word that you said that started with the letter I? That's what you asked him, if it's
Encumbered?
Encumbered.
What does that mean?
Basically, it just means that we enter into the system a document that says we are going to be paying this amount of money to this organization or person at this time. So that basically the system knows, as Chair Wallace said, that this money's accounted for. It can't go anywhere else.
Sorry, thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you for that. No further questions for Hannah. Anna, can we hear from you and the Poet Laureate?
Yes. Hello, commissioners and members of the public. I'm so sad that I cannot be with you in person. I am currently calling in from Utica, Mississippi, the SIP Cultural Center. I'm excited to share with you a brief update. As mentioned by Senior Advisor O'Grady, we're excited to share that there has been the appointment of the next Poet Laureate. The appointment of that occurred was the appointment of the top candidate, who was notified and has accepted their appointment. We want to thank Governor Hobbs for the appointment, and to Senior Advisor O'Grady and the governor's office as a whole for their work to make the appointment of our second Poet Laureate happen. So as mentioned, A formal appointment will be made in the next few weeks, so stay tuned for that. And we're excited to work with the next poet laureate on ensuring that Arizona can access quality poetry and learn how to write for their own personal expression. Are there any questions?
Any questions for Anna?
Hannah, can I just add, we will be doing a big announcement very soon. This just happened before Thanksgiving, so.
Yes, I think yeah.
Working on the rollout. You heard it here first.
Do we have to keep it secret? In a
Yes.
public meeting?
It is, yes, it is embargoed, so it's.
Read the minutes.
Very good, thank you, Anna. You're up next too with the tribal
Yes.
relations report, thank you.
So with that, now on page 29 of your board packet is the complete annual tribal consultation report that was due October 1st. As a reminder, the annual tribal consultation report is mandated by Arizona Revised Statute 41-2051, subsection C, to submit an annual tribal consultation report to the Governor's Office on Tribal Relations. These reports from all Arizona state agencies that have a tribal liaison will be collated into one document that will then be shared with tribal leaders and state legislators in January. So now I will share a brief presentation just to share some of the amazing highlights from this past fiscal year. So first I want to share in terms of funding to tribal nations and Native communities. So in FY25, the Arts Commission funded 14 grantees that ranged from Native American individuals to Native-led organizations to tribal government entities. And these grantees received a total of $55,915. The Arts Commission also grew in the number of tribal nations that were funded to. Funding reached 6 tribal nations: the Cocopah Indian Tribe, the Hopi Tribe, Navajo Nation, the Quetzal Tribe, the San Carlos Apache Tribe, and the White Mountain Apache Tribe. And this totaled in $50,255 being distributed to tribal nations and their citizens. In terms of the themes of the funded projects as well as organizations, there was a focus on cultural preservation, youth and community healing, artistic entrepreneurship, and narrative change. For cultural preservation, this was found throughout, with the Hopi School focusing on language preservation, the Jackie Borletto Research Center using it for archival purposes that were focused on storytelling methods used by Native communities rather than typical archival processes, especially with the Tana O'odham Nation. And lastly, as mentioned in Executive Park's report, there were 4 Master Apprentice awardees from the SFA program that were able to focus on cultural preservation. Next is youth and community healing. So for healing for youth, young people, this was evident in the continued support that we've been able to provide to the Villa Gozo Speaks Out project, which is a partnership between the San Carlos Adult/Juvenile Rehabilitation and Detention Center and Monsoon Youth. For community healing, one of our Artist Opportunity Grant awardees was able to use their grant to organize a one-day workshop where he was able to combine visual art with storytelling and wellness techniques for at-risk young adults. As somebody who had experienced overcoming addiction and incarceration, this allowed for him to connect with those in which he was teaching and open them up through the arts. Next, with artistic entrepreneurship, this showed up both with the Hopi Arts and Culture Festival, which was an opportunity for artists to sell their work, perform, and educate the public of Flagstaff. Another grantee for the Artist Opportunity Grant, Carissa H., funding allowed her to develop a professional website that resulted in her first solo exhibition at Cahokia. And lastly, narrative change. So many artists funded in fiscal year 2025 utilized the funds to learn and develop projects that shifted narratives around their communities and have it be done through their own words. One that I want to highlight is Dene artist David Aberley, who shared, "This project created space for Indigenous voices to lead and for diverse communities to learn from that leadership. None of this would have been possible without the support of public funding, which gave us the resources to create something that represents both artistic vision and cultural responsibility. Guardians of the Sacred Flame is more than a film. It is proof that when the arts are supported, communities become inspired and the next generation of storytellers can see a path forward. Second, I want to highlight, I was mentioned in the media report that our Arizona Youth Arts Council member from Navajo Nation. So Lennox Charlie serves on the Youth Arts Council this year, as well as in fiscal year 2025. And they were selected from Monument Valley High School in Kayenta, and they're a musician. Third, I want to highlight briefly that the relaunch of the Poet Laureate program happened with an understanding by the priorities of the governor that include an emphasis of participation and prioritization of the 22 tribal nations within Arizona. And this was both found in the nomination process as well as what our work will be moving forward with the next Poet Laureate and ensuring that with the workshops that will be done across the state. And lastly, I want to highlight Commissioner Ortega from the Cocopah Indian Tribe. We're thankful for Governor Hobbs' appointment of Willana Ortega to the Board of Commissioners. Definitely celebrate. And we want to also, yes. And we also want to thank her as she was especially instrumental in the execution and hosting of the strategic planning session held at Somerton Public Library. Her support and guidance allowed for the session to begin with a Cocopah Youth Performer Group before the community discussion, as well as led to community members being actual participants in those listening sessions. Lastly, I want to highlight, as was mentioned in the executive report, that the Tribal Cultural Investment Program, we want to mention that this is based in especially having one aspect focused on capacity building for tribal cultural entities. And this is an area of opportunity, which is a new portion of the report. So what was shared in the report is that while the Arts Commission can function as a connection between different tribal cultural entities, their staff, which has requested for peer-to-peer learning and training. So in the proposal for the Tribal Cultural Investment Program, there is a cohort model that has been designed that would be specific to the administration of these entities, but requires dedicated funding for it to be feasible. So with that, I want to thank you and ask if there's any questions regarding the report.
Yeah, Commissioner Tiffany here. Thank you so much for your report out. I liked the last initiative that you presented to us. And I also really want to congratulate you on all the hard work you're doing with First Nations and Indigenous communities. I think the thing that's really startling for me, as you know, as a commissioner, we wrote $3 million worth of grants this fiscal year. $55,000 went to First Nations and tribal communities. Moving forward, I would love us to explore ways where we can actually be a little bit more equitable into those communities that need more resources. So I want to congratulate you again on the last initiative, because I think that is really, really critical for remote communities here in Arizona. So thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Are there any other questions for Brandon before we go on to our action items? Thank you so much, Anna. We appreciate you.
Thank you,
Brad,
everyone.
policy update.
Yes, thank you, Chair Wallace. Good afternoon, Commissioners. On page 41 of your board packet, you will find a small policy revision pertaining to our Creative Capacity Grant Program that we'd like to present for your consideration. In conducting program revisions for the upcoming fiscal year 27 grant cycle, Arts Commission staff detected one of the published evaluation criteria for the Creative Capacity Grant, again, our flagship general operating support program, to be inconsistent with the language adopted from pilot policy status on December 2nd, 2021. Specifically, the evaluation criteria currently listed in policy as quality of impact has been previously published in guidelines and used by review panelists as quality of programs and services. Just some context about our evaluation criteria as a reminder, and for those joining us for the first time, all of our grant opportunities are scored along published evaluation criteria that are available to applicants, so they have those handy when crafting their materials, and are really the bedrock of our grant panel review process, as panelists are encouraged to determine their scores along those very criteria. So while this was very likely an editorial choice that remained unchanged from one year to the next in a previous revision process, Arts Commission staff would still like to propose this small adjustment in the evaluation criteria verbiage to bring our published grant guidelines into alignment with our ratified policy. We feel the use of quality of programs and services contributes favorably to overall clarity and comprehension, also just in the spirit of the funding opportunity, for both applicants and grant review panelists, and is a meaningful vehicle for providing the written panel feedback to the applicants themselves. So I'd be happy to answer any further questions you may have. Otherwise, I will turn it back over to Chair Wallace.
Any discussion?
Commissioner Tiffany again.
You have a quota.
This is very dear to my heart. Just a couple of process questions. How often do you assess the COP grant process? Like in regards to what you're putting forward here, is it in a time frame or a timeline that will you go through when you make adjustments?
Generally speaking, the staff is we have some bandwidth during the summer and fall months to revisit, sort of to peek under the hood, if you will, of our grant programs, conduct any needs assessments with the field to make sure we're responding to the needs we observe, to make sure the program, is resonating with the communities that they hope to serve. So at that time of year is generally when we kind of get our hands dirty in the policy and in the guidelines. And we've sort of developed this habit, feels like the wrong word, but this convention of presenting these policy amendments at our December board meetings. So that's sort of the schedule we've adopted. Mm-hmm.
So annually.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Penne. And tell me if I'm answering the question or not, but it is our largest funding program and grant here at the agency, and it impacts over 200 organizations statewide. Whenever we make adjustments and changes to that program that are significant, we try to make sure that people are aware and that they are along with us in that journey. The adjustment today is a minor adjustment within policy language in order to make sure that it is aligned with the current program. Also, the pieces that I mentioned earlier in my report about sort of grant language, that's more about the answering of questions and just making sure that we respond to constituents that say, oh, could you change this to be a little bit more accessible, or could you change this to be shorter? But we don't have a regimented time period about changing this program, because before it used to be, what was the acronym, CIG?
Oh, CIG. It was the
CIG.
Community Investment Grant.
But because we are currently in progress with the strategic planning, right now, there are implications about making sure we do get constant feedback from the field about ways that this grant could be easier, more accessible, and we are currently tracking that to make sure that when there is a revision, it is done very intentionally and in alignment with the community.
Executive Park, thank you so much. You answered my question.
Any other discussion? All right, well, this is an action item, so if I could get a motion.
This is Commissioner Steinberg. I would like to make a motion to approve the Youth Arts Engagement Grants, not the Youth Arts Engagement Grants, but
Creative Capacity Grant Policy Change.
Policy change as presented in the board.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. The ayes appear to have it, the motion passes. Thank you so much. And thank you, Kenna and Brad.
Thank you.
Okay, we are moving on to agenda item D, our working group reports. Yes, sir? Okay, so as you all remember, in September, we formed 2 subcommittees. Did you skip a shiver? You're okay?
Yes.
Okay. And we formed two subcommittees, one on the developing a process for an evaluation system for our executive director. And the second, a subcommittee to essentially implement our strategic plan that has been in progress for the last year. And as part of the timelines for both of those subcommittees, we will, at every formal commission meeting, do an update of the work that's been done in those subcommittees. I chair, and I'm going to start with the first item, D1. I chair the Executive Director Evaluation Committee, along with Commissioners Dalkey and Commissioners Hill and Commissioner Dahl. And we met one time, and I'd like us collectively to share our thoughts around that work. It was a really level-setting conversation where we were, sort of looking at the timeline, the process, how we were going to get this work implemented. But if I could start, there's 3 takeaways from that I'd like to sort of update the commission on. The first being that we are interested in tying this evaluation to the goals and metrics set in the strategic plan that this commission will be adopting in March, hopefully. So our work will extend past March, and our intention is to have an evaluation instrument, process, and timeline in place for a formal vote by the commission in June, so that we can start fiscal year 2026-27 with this instrument that we can then collectively, over the course of the next fiscal year, use to evaluate and get a feedback loop for our executive director. So that's essentially our first takeaway. The second is that there are established national standards for executive directors of state arts and agencies, and there are key competencies that are measured in a consistent fashion. Those best practices are available to us, and they will be what we will be starting with as essentially what we will measure the performance of the executive director on. And the third has to do with the fact that, and I've completely forgotten the third, so I'm going to go to Commissioner Dahl because she's in my line of sight. Not that you have to finish my thought, but perhaps you could share your thoughts about our conversation and some of the key points.
Thank you, Chair Wallace. This is Commissioner Dalkey, and our first meeting, like you said, was level setting, kind of taking a look at prior documentation that we looked at for standards of executive directors and qualities and things that we're looking for. And also, we just recently, in the last few years, just wrote a job description, right, for the executive director. So going back and taking a look at, okay, well, what did we agree on, and how can that be a roadmap for putting together an evaluation?
That was the one. Thank you. No, but keep on going. Keep on going.
I'm trying to think if there was anything. I was getting over a cold in that meeting, so I'm trying to go through the brain fog. But I think that was mainly it, and we were leaving there with the intentions of coming back with some research and kind of thinking about what would this look like, and then having a discussion about, okay, let's parse that out. Let's take a look at what we like from these different possibilities and start to carve into it. And Julia, do you remember anything?
Oh, you guys both covered it so well. I would say that the research part of the component is really key for us, as we all are going back to what we know, what we may have actually in our past have utilized as well in this work, and that will be a really important area that we'll focus on as well to deliver.
And I'll mention that one of the sort of integral components will be a feedback loop, not only for the executive director, but the staff, and every single member of the commission. Our intention is that this would not be an evaluation made by an executive committee of the commission, but that every commissioner would engage in this process. All of us have very different perspectives, different roles, how we sort of see the outcomes that we want from this commission. So I think it's important to be very inclusive in that way, and also to allow the executive director, I mean, ultimately evaluations in my mind are intended to help drive drive progress and get us from point A to point B, and those are around the goals that we set. So I think it's important for there to be a 360 degree loop of information. So, and anyway, that is where we are at, and we will have another meeting, and at the March meeting, we'll have another update. Just so you all know, our subcommittees are considered public meetings, so they are agendized, they are recorded. We adhere to open meeting law. So if you are interested, and not on one of those subcommittees, but interested in the conversation, I encourage you to ask us for the recording. I know we have it, and please let us know, and what you think, and give us your feedback. It does not need to wait until you have a draft in front of you, please. That's not, it should be a very iterative kind of process. And we have new commissioners, one who actually works in this area, so we look to you and to others for your insights and thoughts. I'm not putting you on the spot. You haven't seen it yet, or but that's kind of where we're at. Are there any responses or discussion or anything on this? I'm a little warmer now too. Close the door, thank you. Whoever closed the door, it's starting to get a little chilly. Okay, well then we can move on to the strategic plan working group. Christina.
Thank you.
Slides.
Can you pull up the presentation? That's all the way at the end.
Oh, yes.
While Steve is pulling that up, thank you so much, Chair Wallace and Commissioners, for your work on the Executive Director Working Group. I'll be doing a brief introduction into our second working group that was established in September, which is around our strategic plan. And I'm so excited to do this with you. Also, deep appreciation for the expertise, knowledge that you contribute as a full commission, also the time and energy, and also the time and energy and expertise of our staff in this process. This has been about 1 year in the making as we move through the strategic plan, and it is something that is deeply based on a lot of research of what has been successful across the states. And also, as we are finishing out phase 1 and leaning into phase 2, which is the sort of taking the information that has been given with us and thinking about what does it mean for the commission moving forward. This is definitely something that we've received over 1,000 public survey responses, both in Spanish and English, something that we've engaged over 300 people in person through 19 different community listening sessions, traveling to 23 different communities across the state. Many communities that we haven't been to in a period of time. So this is something that we're really excited about. If you go to the next slide, please. And this is our current working group of 6 different commission members. We were just actually all together yesterday doing our second working group meeting, brainstorming a little bit that you'll see today after I do this brief introduction. And as we sit on this slide, I want to talk about what the strategic plan offers in this moment, because a strategic plan is something that we update every 5 to 4 years. And recognizing this is a moment of volatility, and there is a point of trying to make sure that we have a plan that provides sustainability for not only this agency, but also this sector for Arizona. We are trying to create a plan that celebrates great wins and big things that are on the horizon, like arts and health. And also at the same time, something that thinks about what is the expansive nature of support for the arts and culture community here in Arizona, We are primarily a grant maker, but what does it look like to support the community beyond grant making as well? And so these are things that are, we have been talking about through these different conversations. This is also an opportunity for us to re-engage with communities that we have strong relationships with, and then also communities that we seek to grow and build, as Commissioner Tepene mentioned earlier. It also provides a future roadmap for this agency, as I mentioned, for the next 5 years until 2032. It provides us an ability to do research and information sharing beyond the annual that we do every year to our different communities. And so having a public survey of over 1,000 responses across the state is quite significant about digesting that and getting back to the community about the needs and wants. Some high objectives for this plan, though my colleague here will go a little bit more in depth, is a clear articulation of what we do and why. And I think the how is well understood. But as we talk through these different meetings with staff, with community, with commissioners, I think there is a part that comes up about this, talking about what we do and why it's important. Not just to the arts and culture community, but to public folks that are just down the street or want to do something really interesting on the weekend or just want to live a healthy life here in Arizona. So with that, I'm going to transition, but I am very excited about the strategic plan. Over here to the right of me is our strategic plan facilitator, who has traveled in for the last few days to do these sessions with us. I'm really excited to introduce Escala Sagaye from Thinking Vision Company. A little bit of her background is that she has over 20 years of experience working at the intersection of arts, community development, housing, and health. Her work has focused on leveraging community investment, policy, and research to improve lives and the physical, social, and economic conditions of places. She was previously the Senior Deputy Chair of the National Endowment for the Arts, our federal partner, and also served as the NEA Senior Advisor for the American Rescue Plan Recovery Strategy, or the ARPA funds that flowed through our state a few years ago, which assessed the impact of COVID-19 and the ARP in the arts and culture sector. I'm not going to read through the whole thing. I'm going to actually hand it back off to you to continue us through this next process.
Great, thank you, everybody. Hello. It's a pleasure to be here, and I appreciate the introduction. And I just more on my background is that I have at times I've sat in organizations and leadership roles, and at times in the role that I'm in now as a consultant. And part of why I'm really excited to be here is that I think strategic planning processes are really a ripe opportunity to bring together different perspectives, to support alignment, and are really this chance to magnify the impact that's possible because of the alignment that's possible, not only in the plan that gets produced, but in the process itself. So it's really an honor to be part of this one. And so on the next slide, I'll just kind of ground us in where we are in that process. And what we're going to do today is kind of build on a little bit of just the high-level updates of where we are and some of the high-level themes. And then we're going to do an exercise. And we're going to move around and we're going to do a little workshopping. And so, and that will help actually continue to give us more input into really the core messages and the core orientation of this plan. So it's this slide that is coming up. It really shows, so one of the things is that we're really at this kind of inflection point in the planning process. So Director Park spoke about really the robust engagement that has been happening to inform this plan. And it really, it stands out, the commitment that has been made to ensuring that this plan really listens and reflects the interests of a very diverse set of constituents across the state. And so at this point, we're now taking a lot of that information and looking at it and saying, okay, what does it tell us about what we need to prioritize And what is the opportunity that we have to communicate through this plan what is important about arts and culture in this state and the role, the unique role that the Arts Commission has. And so if you go back just one slide, if that's possible. And so, so here's where we are, and the working group, the commission working group, has already met twice now, once virtually and then yesterday in person, and has really been digging in and looking at what the core messages and the building blocks that this plan needs to represent, and we'll do a version of that today. We are going to move fairly quickly with a target of March of bringing to this commission and really celebrating what this plan articulates and with the approval by the commission. And so it is ambitious, and it is, and we're gonna drive towards it. And the working group is ready. I know this. And so so that you'll see at the special commission meeting, which was already brought up at the end of January, a working draft before we go out to for public comment. So a little bit about where we are. And then on the next slide, just a highlight of just some of the areas of emphasis, emerging areas of emphasis that we're hearing. So one is about the plan itself. And what has come forward is that this is an opportunity to really express a North Star. A North Star that can guide the work of the agency, the commission, that is both visionary and implementable. That really is something that will focus and guide the work and inspire not only those that are already part of carrying the work forward, but really bring in more partners and bring in more understanding about what is possible in terms of the role of arts and culture in the state. And we've also heard that bold public expression that is possible with this plan, that there's a chance to really appreciate that the moment that we're in, to both meet the moment and be future oriented in terms of articulating the direction and that the agency is headed, and that reflects the realities of the communities that the agency serves. There's been obviously this commitment to engagement and diverse perspectives, and again, that this is a tool for clarity and alignment. So a lot of the aspirations for the plan itself. What we're also hearing in terms of the unique statewide function that this agency holds is that in this public trust position, that there is a unique mandate and a unique way in which the commission stewards the cultural ecosystem as a steward, and in that role, it really amplifies the value and the role of arts. That the commission plays a pretty unique role in investing and catalyzing the cultural workforce in this state. That the commission really champions artists and really validates and lifts up the importance that artists have in our communities. And that in this stewardship role really has a function around connecting and supporting and nurturing networks of organizations. That really helps to make the collective, the parts greater than, or the whole but greater than the parts, however that saying goes. And that in this, that the agency delivers critical fundamental resource that without which the ecosystem is not healthy. And so there's an intention about what does the sustainability of the agency look like, and what does the sustainability of the cultural ecosystem look like. And then there's been a lot of discussion that we've heard today and that you see in the work that was all presented around the really strength and value of the resources that the Arts Commission provides. And that's fundamentally in the dollars and the grant making that's possible, but it's also beyond that. And it comes in an array of assets and functions that have to do with convening, that have to do with research and data, that have to do with policy. And so there's a lot of discussion about how that comes forward in this plan in a way that supports really this North Star that is emerging. And then finally, in terms of what to amplify about arts and culture, and this is echoing, conversations I've heard at the start of the meeting, is that there's this opportunity to really uplift the way in which arts are fundamental in communities and are critical to a vast array of impacts, that whether they are about health and well-being, or they're about academic impact, that there's an expansive way in which arts are critical, and that there's evidence that is available that can be brought forward that supports that understanding and brings together more connection across industry, across community. So highlights that we have, and then so what we're gonna, and then with the next slide, so our work today is to take a little bit of time and reflect on what the strategic plan really needs to articulate. And we have a lot of input, but we want more input. And so what we're going to break down and answer a few questions, and this is the work that both the staff did yesterday in a planning session, and then also the working group, commission working group did. And it really is thinking about what are these core truths that underlie the work of the commission, and that this plan has an opportunity to articulate. What do Arizonans need to know about the Arts Commission? And really thinking about what this unique public value is. And so on the next slide, I'm going to tee us up with the exercise in just a minute, but I actually want to pause and see if any of our working group commissioners, if Director Burke, if anyone would like to, just who's been involved, particularly in these most recent sessions, want to bring forward any reflections or anything you would add to what I've already shared.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank the staff and the leadership for moving this highly aggressive but really, really timely initiative forward and for being part of the subcommittee. I think sharing is we're having a very robust conversation. We met yesterday in person. From my perspective, and I'd love to know what the other commissioners think, is we had a very, very robust conversation about the moment that we're in. From a macro to a micro, we really, really spent a lot of time working out what is the commission and what is it for, and I think that, so we had very, very healthy conversations. Also sort of widened it up. You know, arts is quite narrow. Is it arts and culture? We started to move and have those discussions. But I'm going to pass it over to my colleagues.
Sure, I'll say something if that's all right. And Simon, thanks for getting it kick-started, the conversation. I, again, just want to thank all that was in attendance yesterday at the meeting, and especially Ascala for making the journey out from DC to be with us to facilitate the meeting with Christina, Dawn, and Jose. It was really exceptional because we also focused on the mission statement for the commission and reevaluating its messaging and intentional language. So that will be fun for everyone to, and commissioners and commission staff to see what we have been working on towards the mission statement, which hasn't been finalized yet. It's still a draft because it's essential to really hone in the commission of today and also the commission of the future with the statement. So exciting things, and it was really a fun experience.
Commissioners, do you want to chime in at all? And Commissioner?
I agree with what they've said, and I think that we're really trying to be mindful of ways that we can expand the public's knowledge of what we do and what we're capable of doing and what we would like to contribute to the state of Arizona in kind of a larger way than it maybe has previously been framed.
You've done great.
I think also the strategic plan is an important tool for our educational advocacy at the legislature. For folks to know what our intentionality is around the work that the commission does every day, beyond just grant making and investments, but it's care and nurturing of the arts and culture community, and what that means in their respective communities, I think is important. So I think we talked about that a little bit, about telling our story through how we plan to execute our vision. And that's where I think we kind of found ourselves back with the mission statement, because it leads to the vision statement, and it leads to the strategic plan. So there is a very linear process here. So to Simon's, it was really one of the best sort of thought leadership exercises I've been a part of in a long time. And I'm anxious to see that again here today, so.
That's excellent. No pressure.
No pressure.
No, it's terrific. Thank you all. And so because I think of the experience that the commissioners had yesterday, the recommendation was to bring that in for the group to do today. And so, what we're looking at are really spending some time on the building blocks of that mission statement, the building blocks of the core messages that the strategic plan will articulate. And so on the screen here, you see what those core questions. And what we're going to do is break down into small groups. And if anyone is brave enough, one can be outside. But otherwise, we'll kind of we'll find groupings in this room. We'll have three commissioners in a meeting. I'm going to ask our working group members to split up amongst the groups. We'll spend just 15 minutes. It's really fast. It's a lot to ask. But 15 minutes to get your thoughts down. And we ask that one person is a scribe and puts on the flip chart your responses to these questions. Then we're going to take a little bit of time, and this might be the hardest thing we'll do, is actually walk around and look at each other's work. And it's hard because for those virtually, the space is a little tight. But we'll look at each other's, and then we'll have some conversation about what we're noticing in terms of themes, in terms of what's being expressed. And it won't be exhaustive, but what this will help us capture and feed the update to the mission, the strategic plan framing overall. So, and for those online, we'll have you. We're going to disconnect audio, and so Christina will join you and kind of work with you in your group too, and bring your responses into the room as well. It's going to be a logistical feat, but we're going to figure it out. So, and then staff also. So staff are going to also gather and do the same exercise. So we're going to be able to see across all the perspectives that are in this room now. So that is the plan. So groups of three and gather around the flip chart. There will be three in this room. If anyone is brave enough for the chilly weather, there's one outside, or there's a couple outside, and then also in the hall out here. I'll tell you the time, but you'll have 15 minutes. And if one person would take notes in answering each of these questions on the flip chart. Any questions? Okay. Thank you in advance for digging in.
And the meeting, the public meeting is ongoing. I'm not going to recess or anything. Okay. Let's all go. Okay. Find your closest piece of paper.
Yeah, I need a cookie. I'll come hang out with you guys. Come chill over there. Get out there.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, you sound good too, Mark. Hey, Nicole.
Hi. I know.
I see you in motion, Nicole.
Yes, I'm trying to get more steps in.
Oh, I love it. That's good for you.
How is everybody?
Very good.
Good. Hi, Christina.
And Becky, Mark, welcome.
Thank you very much.
That's good to see you too.
Going to hide, so it says to be a group.
Well, hey, Christina.
Hi. I am I am going to be the support, so I will not be an active contributor, but I will be taking notes and also making sure that, because in the next half, what we'll do as we have a conversation while people are able to view what's on in person, is that we'll share these responses on the screen. And then also I'll be sharing a Google folder that will have all the photos of everything that's in person. So I know it's a little bit awkward, but we're going to try as much as possible to be able to make sure that we get the responses from this group as well. So if you give me 2 minutes, I'm going to get that up and then I'm going to share screen.
Very thoughtful of you all.
Pats, have you been to any good exhibits lately?
I have not. I have spent the last year selling a house, buying a house and moving.
Oh
It's been
my
a little
goodness.
hectic here.
Yeah, a lot hectic. Are you still up in Flag?
Yes.
Oh, nice. That's great. Yeah, well, congratulations with those big changes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that yesterday, as Simon, Colleen, and Ascala mentioned, of course, Christina with yesterday's strategic planning, I kind of was involved with this exercise, so I may just take more of a back seat just to give everyone more of a voice for representation. So if that's all right, Christina.
It does, and Commissioner Buckle, what I would also love is, because there was a lot more robust time
Yes.
to have that conversation, to bring in those elements into this room
All
as
right.
well.
Okay, great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for the go ahead. Okay, so while Christina prepares, I think the first question was for the building blocks, why, like, what is the commission? Why does it exist? What do we do?
It feels like an easy question, but hard at the same time.
All right, well, how easy is it, Nicole?
We fund art or we ensure there's funding for art, and we fund art projects and art initiatives in Arizona.
Sounds good.
And hopefully we celebrate the arts too.
What? I'm sorry, Mark, what was that?
I said, hopefully we celebrate the arts. I was struck by
That's nice.
the comment about growing our constituency. I think that's something we should really key in on.
That's nice. That word wasn't brought up yesterday, just so everyone's aware on this breakout group, the word celebrate. So that's cool to hear that.
We engage with the community of Arizona on the topic of art.
Yeah, in community engagement, that was huge. When we had a breakout session yesterday, we were divided into 2 groups. And that was one word we both had in our draft mission statement was community or communities. So that one was really a major theme. Pats, do you want to give it a shot?
Well, I think the arts are important statewide. And I don't think it should be forgotten because there's so many other areas that are important, but without art, each of our communities we wouldn't be viable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so true. That was something that was echoed yesterday was the statewide representation and how the Arizona Commission on the Arts can bridge these rural communities to unite through the arts. And also one thing with that statement of, the statewide, the rural, don't forget us up in northern Arizona or wherever you may be, or Yuma. So that was mentioned, but also the sense of belonging as well in these rural regions.
What about working to increase investment in the arts?
Hey, I like that word, investment. That's awesome.
I mean, math is not my strong suit, but looking at what the appropriation is for the Arts Council every year, I think it
Yes.
breaks down to something less than 13 cents per person in the state of Arizona. So like if everyone in Arizona could find a quarter under their couch cushion and give it to us, they'd triple their support.
That puts it into perspective when you say it like that, for sure. Yeah, an investment was brought up, and as Nicole had mentioned, funding for the arts, the investment in the arts, and that kind of economic impact. Another part of the economic impact was also the workforce that is created through a robust statewide arts initiative. And I have to be honest, Christina knows what I'm going to say when I mention the workforce. So that's not a term that we normally use in the museum world. And so, but after Dawn kind of broke it down, it made sense to use the word workforce. I'm used to using things like personnel, right, in the art world. And we always try to glamorize everything in the arts. But essentially, if this is going to land on the governor's desk for budget discussions, workforce is the government term, right? So we need this just to really strike a chord and resonate with representatives, legislators, everything for the budget. So I do like the word workforce.
And speaking to that, Monica, I'm on Southwest Arizona Town Halls Committee. We just had our town hall several weeks ago, about 6 weeks ago. It was about workforce development in Southwestern Arizona.
Well, wonderful.
And folks that we want to attract to come here, they talk about quality of life. I think the arts figures very prominently into that. And what really was disturbing about this town hall was that we've reached a point in Arizona, we're not minting our own college graduates to the degree that we need for a modern workforce. We're going to have to rely on folks coming from elsewhere. Quality of life is an important factor. The arts contributes to the quality of life.
Well, thank you for sharing that workforce. So then that's great for Christina to know and feel confident moving forward with Escala, with this whole strategic planning. And also the quality of life kind of ties to that well-being, the holistic nature. And really awesome that Christina and the staff have taken the initiative, also with the Flynn Foundation's partnership, to really study the metric and the datas of the cognitive benefits of the arts. Because it's true, it's that quality of life that you can measure.
And something I'll sort of add, Commissioner, thank you so much for that, Commissioner Buckle. And then also Commissioner Shower, I'm actually meeting with Arizona Town Hall, the statewide, in a few weeks to talk about this intersection of arts and workforce development, and make sure that it is something that is understood in its robustness. So thank you for bringing that up. In reflection of time, do you mind if we move to the next question? And I'll reflect that probably the hardest part of this is going to be this information that you just shared and how it fits in these different items, because there is so much overlap.
I feel like that last point that was made is public value, right? There's the health and wellness. There's so much and more than ever now research showing that access to and experiencing the arts improves health and wellness in so many different domains. And then there's also the fact that we're preserving Arizona's indigenous culture and the traditional arts, which is a super, super important value.
Nice. That's really nicely said, Nicole. Does anyone have, Becky, since I'm going to put you on the spot, since your mayor, what do you feel that the commission provides to all Arizonans? You're muted. Oh,
I
there
was
you go.
being good by muting myself.
Yeah,
Economic development
nice.
and also quality of life. And if there's a better way to describe that, but you know, the communities that are the most attractive to live in are those communities that have lots of different things going on that residents and visitors can participate in.
Yeah, because that's really true. It's like thriving communities are evident with the arts and culture and what's happening on their calendar of events. But also, I like what you just touched upon, not just for the residents, but as we know, Arizona's a tourism state, so that's true for tourism as well. That trickles back to the economic development.
Monica, I think one of the things is equity
Mm-hmm.
across the state.
Mm-hmm. How so, Pats, from what you see?
Well, that everybody has an opportunity to participate. It's just not geographically centered in one area of the state. And there's so many different ways to participate, especially through the different grant opportunities.
I like that multi-dimensional quality to participation. And that equity, going back to that. All right, so in lieu of time, unique role, what do we do that no other entity does?
Fight for our budget. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, literally.
I think a lot is outreach through seminars and education. There are a lot of agencies that do it, but it's become non-existent almost, just due to every agency's budget cuts and everything. And this agency at least stays steady in offering it across the state.
Yeah, well said, Pats, because this was something that we did discuss at great length regarding commission staff, is that sense of mentorship that they provide for whether it's artists applying for grants, leaderships in organizations applying for grants or what have you, or just someone who's a recreational artist who wants to get involved. They might not be a professional artist. And so really that education and how to process and navigate through the funding opportunities. Yeah, the outreach is great.
I would say also the comprehensive distribution of financial support to nonprofits. There's no other entity that is taking public dollars and spreading it around the entire state.
That's great. Comprehensive distribution. I love it. Spreading it across the state. That sounds great. I get that visual of just like the money going around Arizona. Yes, exactly, Becky.
I would love to see what the group thinks about adding to maybe the beginning of that sentence directly, because I know there's some other entities that they kind of spread it out to other like they might give some to the city of Tucson and they might give some here, but I feel like what's unique is that we're reading the grant applications directly and we're working with the recipients directly.
Nice. Yeah, the accessibility. Okay, so if everyone's satisfied with that, truths of our work, what must be acknowledged, constraints, realities, responsibilities, and Nicole, you started it off fighting for funding, you know?
Yeah, I think fighting for funding and the amount of time that the staff and then our cousin group has to do to advocate just to get a place. So I would almost want to word it like fighting for a budget and a permanent place on the budget. It would be just really great if they
That's
wrote
a
us in.
truth right now, for sure.
I think having adequate staffing levels so that the current staff doesn't face burnout and leave.
Yeah, the staffing levels.
I do have to say it's time. I've gotten the notification to return back to the room. Just letting you know, there's going to be a little bit of transition time. I'm going to get this up onto the shared screen so that the whole commission and folks in the room can see it. And then I'll be sending pictures. I'll be taking pictures of everyone else's responses. And then in the chat of the Zoom room in a few minutes, I'll put a link to a folder that you should all have access to. And that will have the responses so that you can also view what the other groups wrote down.
Well, thank you, Christina. And thanks, everyone. That was fun. Like I said, there was a few things that were similar and some different thoughts and suggestions, so that's nice.
Thanks for facilitating.
I was hoping Christina was going to take the lead, but I'm more than happy to, Nicole. Yeah.
So we're gonna take a minute. Thank you for that, the time you spent in your groups, and we're gonna take a few minutes to bring forward the responses from our colleagues online, and then bring in our outside, the folks that were outside. And so, just want to take a minute. I was going to have you all move around, but everyone's seated, so maybe we'll just do a discussion seated. Okay. And wanted just to have an exchange about what came up in your discussions. Maybe if each group could share a little bit about what you came up with, what came forward, and then we'll have a little bit of cross conversation. So, how about? Oh, sorry. Sure. Do staff want to go first? We have a volunteer, so.
So this is.
You gotta let Art through. Andrew.
All right. Open session. What am I? Oh, is that what we're doing?
So we're going first. I think Brad said we have a lot of good nuggets.
I think there's some good stuff in there.
We're such a competitive group. So I started with purpose, and I think there's going to be a lot of overlap with the purpose: stewardship of public funds, increase public value of the arts, linked to public value. So we create a sense of space, right? In addition to that, we offer government validation. So for some of the individuals that apply to our grants, it's probably the first time they interacted with a government agency. And then passing traditions to future generations is the public value as well. The unique role that we do is we ignite and fuel the conversation. So we don't have to be the ones that continue that conversation. We can ignite it and connect people, and continuation of sustainability. Obviously, we distribute public funds, federal and state, and we also activate a network of artists and peer groups. I think when we meet with these peer groups, they like the fact that we're connecting them with agencies and organizations across the state. Same thing for artists. Truths of our role, we answer to the public. So we're a public agency, very similar to talking about some of the individuals and organizations that apply, maybe the first time they're applying for a government grant. Volatile funding environment and also different legislative priorities as a truths of our role. Commitments, we're a translator of government, going back to the first interaction with a government agency. We also need to do prompt communication. We need to be transparent in our decision making in terms of how do we put together our applications, our application of questions, public meeting, any public meetings, and also the resource distribution. And we have a commitment to our public. So any questions, any of the staff want to add anything else? Anna, Brad, Tim, Stacy?
Excellent. Thank you. Excellent. So we're gonna, so just as you're listening, notice what's standing out for you. Notice what language, what ideas, and then we're gonna kind of see what that is. And so how about our group that was over here in this corner? I should have told you all this was part of it. So
Okay. As far as purpose, all 50 states have one, and I assume our the territories as well. An economic purpose, governor endorsed, art matters. It's a practical, logistical grant distribution chain. As far as public value, strive to provide equity, beautification, opportunity to grow, citizen access to art and culture, economic value, health and well-being, engagement, human connection, outreach, resources. In terms of unique role, we're statewide. We represent people with policy influence. We're accountable to all Arizonans and have many communities represented. It's important to represent on the commission that it's diverse. Truths of our work. The financial and political landscape is ever-changing. There'll be constraints. We have a responsibility to the Arizona public. We have a varied audience of artists, students, guests for artistic and cultural events. Can't make all requests. Education about our work is our responsibility as well to engage the public. And then as far as commitments to use tax dollars wisely, support artists and organizations, engagement with the public, and deliver on the mission, what it is now and whatever it may be.
Excellent. I'm hearing a lot of similarities, which is I think really affirmative. Kieran, thank you.
Yeah, well, similar ones as well. Our purpose, obviously providing grant funding and support to artists across the state. We sort of serve as a mechanism for cultural exposure and programming and quality, again, throughout the state. And as a public value, we act, and some of ours sort of kind of bled into the others, which I thought was interesting as we went forward. Our public value, we act as a central hub for connecting arts organizations, artists, community organizations, and we can sort of serve as a convener for policymakers, around the state, and that we provide an economic value to the state. I think we've done some presentations on the impact of arts on our economy and workforce and that sort of stuff. So that was an important one. The unique role played some of these as well. So we are unique in that we are the only statutory entity that exists in the state to do what we do. And we do serve, again, do that statute as statewide and kind of far-reaching impact. And that unique role leads back to some of these. We're the only really kind of, I guess, again, statutory agency that would be the convener, that we exist and kind of the natural group to do some of these things. Some of the truths that we have to face, obviously, budget, resources, we all know that one. And that we talked about a little bit earlier how people who do budgets think that we are not always the highest priority of legislature and the budget makers and stuff. So we have to always fight to try to scrape back into that, that discussion. And a truth about ours is our messaging. It's not always easy to get it through, to break through to the right people. We have really good messaging, but it's not always easy to get it to the ones who really matter and need to be fighting for us in those halls of budgets and things like that. And then Don brought it up, that we are subject to and impacted by the culture wars. You know, that is something that affects our, kind of the ebb and flow of the arts and support for them. And then the commitments, the commitments of this agency, a lot of people said transparency, we want to be efficient, and so that we can show our worth in advocating for the arts. And we obviously, I think other people said this too, we want to be able to show that we are good stewards of taxpayer dollars and what we're out here to do. So, those are
So how about here we have our folks that brave the cold outside. Commissioner, come on, Commissioner Ortega.
Can we come together?
Okay, yes.
Together. This is a double below. I'll be back later.
Okay, so it was an interesting conversation, but why do we exist? Preservation, I said preservation of the arts and culture, and empowering government. So public value, I point blank, more money. And then
Oh, the value, which is money and know-how, technical, like know-how.
the unique role that we have is that we are very diverse, and we're driving towards that more diversity in our council, as well as the grantees, and then opportunities, state entity, and we're by the people for the people.
Some of the times. We did have a robust conversation.
Shapes of our work, what must be acknowledged. The constraints, funding. It sounds like it's always uncertain. You never know. And always advocating for it. And ourselves, we talked about ourselves being our own constraint and how we are a limit to ourselves.
Yeah.
And our reachability. I acknowledge that that's probably the reason why I'm here, is that my reach is what I represent and who I have reached to as well. So that, to have that on there. And then alongside with that, we talked about the cultural competency of it.
We had a really long, robust conversation about that, and we were also really concerned about what staff would think when we put that up, actually. But so this was nowhere close to any criticism of staff. This was a conversation about, on our tribal lands, what it means when a Westerner comes on and what it takes to get engagement. So that was,
absolutely.
So we just put cultural competency.
Yeah, there was no other term that we could probably coin it to, being that I explained my role in the different tribal communities here in Arizona, and the people I know through what I do on my off time. So just talking about that and how I probably have a different reach than others. So
Oh, my writing's really bad. It was
realities.
Realities.
Again, my role, and then again the funding and
Not enough staff, you need more staff. Like, yeah.
our responsibilities, or that must be acknowledged, is that we are responsible to like the taxpayer, correct? That's what we wrote.
Yeah.
And then
Communities.
communities.
We were responsible for communities, which was after yesterday. We were very conscious about because we didn't use all of us or everybody. So we came up with communities. Much better word.
Can you give a little context for the folks that were not in the room?
Because
Okay. So my graduate work is in human communication studies, which means I look at words and the power of a word. Words have power. They can uplift a person and they can bring them down. But every word we use has a different meaning to every single person. So we talked about words like, I don't use the word everyone. I never say everyone. It is a lump all word, and we're not all the same. So I always use the word people. People individualizes us. So they're using the word community because community, what community means to many people is kind of a mix of everybody coming together and our ability to build community versus other terms.
Very nice.
To our people.
To our people, yes. Commitments, what must the public be able to come in? Truth telling.
Well, we ran out of time.
Yeah,
but we now that it's just like truth telling. That's it.
Good job. Thank you.
And so for our colleagues online, if we could have someone bring forward an overview. And I think we even have notes that we can share.
Well, we had a wonderful breakout session with everyone zooming in. And I don't know if Pats, you can see the document Christina shared with us, if you want to kind of go back and forth with me to share with all the people in the room and also all the people on Zoom. And all right, let me pull up my document here. Thanks, Christina, for sharing it. So the purpose, why do we exist as a state arts agency? This really just echoes what everyone was saying, is to ensure there's funding for the arts. And one thing that's wonderful that a new commissioner mentioned, Mark also said to celebrate the arts. I think we forget about that celebratory nature of uplifting arts and culture and the humanities. We also have engaged with the community in Arizona on the topic of art. And Pat, you so aptly said the arts are important statewide. Please reference that for all the people in the room and all the people on Zoom.
Well, I think we tend to forget that there's so many entities and how large this state is, and that the arts are across the entire state, just not in one area of the state. So rural areas are flourishing, the tribal areas are flourishing with their art, and we just need to remember that and be cognizant of it.
Very nice. And Nicole also mentioned, you mentioned the tribal nations in Arizona, not just rural. And Nicole also mentioned that we're here to also preserve the indigenous arts and culture within the state. Working to increase investment in the arts. The word investment is so key, funding, investment. And this is something that was discussed yesterday during the strategic planning when we had our own workshops. The group that I wasn't on, they had the word workforce, which was discussed at great length. And really, it's true to employ a workforce, that economic impact that can be measured, but also you're supporting the livelihoods of people in the arts. I don't know if, Pat, if you wouldn't mind taking the public value, the next few points, please.
Oh, you're on mute.
You're on mute, Pat.
Those darn buttons.
Right?
We talked about, what health and wellness we all get and enjoy from having experienced the arts, no matter what it is, across the state. The arts are an economic development for each of our communities. We are a business, each art entity. And so they bring that development to the community. Quality of life, we all want to live in an area that has great art opportunities, robust festivals to go to, great museums. And, not only are we doing it ourselves locally, but we're bringing people in from across the state to drive that economic development within our communities. And equity, and everybody has the opportunity to participate. And do it in a way that's meaningful for that person, that group, that agency, and feel like they have a stake in it. So that was that part.
And also our new commissioner, Mayor Daggett, also being a mayor, what's important to you? Becky, do you want to give any words to that as what we provide to all Arizonans?
Yeah, we talked a little bit about quality of life and being a place that people want to live and a place that people want to visit. So quality of life for our residents as well as our visitors.
Nice. All right, so then quickly moving on to unique role. What do we do that no other entity does? This was really nice that Pat suggested outreach through seminars and education stays steady in providing this across the state, even with larger budget cuts. Which is true. I brought up the word mentorship, that we're all familiar as commissioners serving as grant panelists or co-chairs to the different grant cycles, and really how impeccable the work is that before the application process is done by an artist, organization, or whomever, and really the hand-holding that the commission staff provide for those interested applicants. And then once they're in the application process, all the mentorship during that. And then also it doesn't end when the grant money is awarded. We always hear various cases where different applicants, they may not be awarded the grants that they applied for, and there's a rigorous review process as to maybe why. And that's always given as constructive feedback to the applicant. And then what can we do to support you to make a more robust application for the next cycle? And it's really cool to hear from the different staff members their success stories of mentorship where perhaps an artist or organization didn't receive a particular grant, but through that act of kindness and education outreach, then the following year, that applicant may well succeed at that. So we have heard that across the board. So I think that's really important to hone in on, is that outreach that really does set this entity apart.
Terrific. Thank you so much. So let's just take a moment and kind of observe and absorb what was just shared. And I think something that is coming through to me is the significance of the responsibility and the seriousness with which this group holds that responsibility in the state. And I think that's incredibly powerful. And I want to take a moment, and this won't be exhaustive, but if we just take a moment to understand what else is standing out to folks. You know, what did you hear? What's important to emphasize? Where is there more meaning? You know, to the point that this process, part of what is important about the process is to actually get underneath the language that we're using to get to some shared understanding. So where do you have questions? So any reactions, questions that folks have?
Well, as a new commissioner, you know, I look at the budget, right? And I think about our state geographically. I think about the resources as a whole that our state has. And if there's a belief that the arts have so many impacts, whether it's on well-being or economically, otherwise, I think we can go down the line and point to evidence that backs those things up, those beliefs up. I do wonder, why is the budget not more significant? I think for me, that's the glaring thing. I think that's it's a limiting factor. You'll never have enough. I think budget resources to be able to, do the work you want to do at scale, but how do we get closer to that?
Commissioner, about 2 or 3 years ago, I forget which federal you know that places like California have historically in LA funded arts and culture because of the industries that are there. Utah, the Olympics, huge cultural infusion with the Olympics. We've just never had a huge fiscal infusion into our arts and culture world, so we've never been able to build up from that. So I sort of, listening to everybody here, I really, is part of our role education of key stakeholders in the state to understand that investment in the arts has a long-term commitment and has ongoing multiple impacts over time. Therefore, it must be sustainable. I don't know. I found that data really impactful a couple of years ago.
I want to be sort of delicate in how I say this, but one of the sort of truths is that we as a commission, in terms of public investment, are actually competing with our sector, right? Because arts organizations are themselves seekers of funding. And so one of the things that was brought to me when I first, because I came in with the mentality of, okay, well, why don't we have a non-government focused development process? You know, why aren't we as a government entity seeking private donors and corporate donations and things of that nature? Because we're not going to get it. I mean, I feel like Charlie Brown with Lucy in that football, because I do think that we try very, very hard, but we're not getting to where we need to go. But so like, why not seek out other resources? And you know, what the reality of it is that because we can't provide, our grantees have to go pursue funding from other places where we would probably be able to get additional funding. So there is, and this exists in education too. I mean, it exists in every public policy area, in healthcare, is that whenever you are the entity, sort of the umbrella organization for advocating for a sector, and you're looking for resources to get to the sector, they themselves are looking for funding, and you end up being sometimes competitors for the finite resources that exist. So I think that is something that is an opportunity rather than a challenge, which is how do you work with your constituencies to be strategic in specific types of investment? And, you know, can you say, well, you know, we need to be more partner-esque in this rather than us being sent out on the front lines, get the money and come back? How do we hold hands and do that together? And I think it could be an opportunity. I see that really significantly in rural Arizona. I really do, because in my mind, I think rural Arizona tends to be much more connected to arts and culture in a way that maybe we're a little bit in a more urban environment. We're a little bit more disconnected. Maybe it's the concentration of people. Maybe it's the lack of tradition and legacy. I don't know, but so I see challenges, but I see those opportunities there, and I suppose partnership is the word I want to emphasize in that statement. Oh, yes.
I absolutely agree. I think the way that the commission has tried to be in partnership with Arizona is very much in alignment, recognizing that as you saw in the ED report earlier, we tried to partner as much as possible, and it is very much an interest to move forward as well. And this is the part where it's yes and. I really appreciate the line of questioning today, because I think the question that we need to ask ourselves is, what is unique? What can we provide that is only the commission commission can provide. That would not be in competition, that would not be in replication, but it's something that is something that we can then amplify. And so I think what I appreciate about what Escala also brings to this and a perspective is the intersections. Because I think this is the part where if you're a small nonprofit or a big nonprofit, it's daunting to do these intersectional works, especially on a systemic change piece. And these are the moments where we are unique in that we are a state agency. So I just wanted to add that additional context of absolutely, because often the first thing is, why don't you go for private funding? And we just want to be very careful, because what we think about and what we uplift is the ecosystem. It's not about preservation of the agency, it's about preservation of the ecosystem and recognizing that the agency is a core sort of pillar within that.
That's great. So you know, hearing kind of across the room this attention to scale of appreciating the mismatch between resources and the scale of really what is possible and what is needed. This importance of really thinking about industry and thinking about the really what is the way to grow connection across industry about in terms of the importance of the work that this commission supports. And that there's an opportunity to really be strategic about partnerships. And we actually heard, I understand this even came forward in one of the listening sessions, about how, because of where the Arts Commission sits, is there a weaving and connecting amongst the funding community and amongst artists and arts organizations that can bring more resource, more alignment, and to think about that, how that happens outside of the arts sector as well. And so there's obviously a lot more, but that we're just scratching the surface around, and that has been coming forward over this last year, right? In the intentional process of gathering information. And so we look forward. I'm going to kind of wrap us now, and we will. The working group is already committed to adding sessions to the core that they already committed to do, which is very appreciated. But to take more time to really dig in and work on the crafting of the plan and starting again with these foundational premises about what the work is. And so we look forward to bringing that back to you. And if there are any questions, any feedback, please share it with your commissioners, or you can bring it to the commission or to the agency, and we'll work with it. So thank you all for your time. It's really a pleasure. Thank you.
So the next item is the call to the public. Do we have any members of the public who would like to make a statement to the commission?
No one has reached out online.
Okay, well, very good. So now, in closing, I have an invitation to the commission from the Arizona Citizens for the Arts to join them at the Foundry, which is right next door, the Match Market and Bar, from 4:30 to 5:30 for a little bit of a mixer. It's, by the way, it's a gorgeous hotel. It's a little boutique art. It has an art studio as well. You can leave your car here and just walk on over and just get, casual. I guess I get to close this at this point. I just, I just want to thank everyone. I, for a living, talk to people about doing what we're doing here today. Like, I spend a lot of time trying to convince people who are busy, who don't think they have expertise, or that their voices don't matter, that sitting in a room like this and having a seat at the table is meaningful and important, and it is our sort of responsibility to the health and welfare of our society. So to be here with you all, and you're all amazing in your own right. I show you gratitude. And I hope the very best for all of you for the holidays. I hope you get to spend it with family and friends. It's also a time where some of our friends and neighbors are sad because they've lost folks. I encourage you all to find somebody and give them your love so that they don't feel alone during this very, very tough season. So with that, my love to all of you, and I would love a motion for adjournment. Nobody?
I was waiting on Simon to do it. Madam Chair, I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Everyone in favor say aye. No one can be opposed. Thank you so much to everybody who joined us virtually. We hope to see you in person. Happy holidays. And if you all could please, if you haven't done the Christmas, the thank you cards, if we could do that before you leave.